didn't know that it was special to see a Sasquatch, then you might not have been on guard for an ape-like being. And then when you see it, you're like, you wouldn't know that it's special. I saw a feature that popped up and I got excited about it. And then it took it away from me. But there was a brief moment I got to talk to God. Man, it sounds like I'm talking about drugs.
Yeah. Were you talking to God, Sasquatch, or are you high?
It was a como no se trace.
Hey!
No. First of all, no, not high. Second of all, yes, talk to God, because the Sasquatch thing is that it turns out it was a rare thing. I thought it would be there when I came back. Also, shout out to Dylan Theus and to Error 404, both of whom, in their reality, at 9:30 this morning, Brian said, "I'll be right back." And now I'm back. Okay, good. We've got G. James B. We've got Rose. Excellent. So I was just telling Tom about the Sasquatch. The Sasquatch is the little blue Gemini diamond inside the studio side of YouTube. Allows you to just talk to your analytics. And it's an experimental feature that showed up for one glorious conversation where I learned so much, and then it went away. And so I assume it'll be back again, like the Sasquatch. But for now, it was this agonizing moment where, for example, Tom, the first thing I asked was, I said, how many people have clicked unsubscribe over the entire history of the channel? Because this is a particular problem that you can solve in analytics, but you have to do like 5 menus deep and then do a counterintuitive something or other. But instead, I just phrased it dead simple. How many people clicked unsubscribe in the history of this channel? And it instantly said 538,422. And I was like, okay. And I was like, instantly, next thing, I had a suspicion. I thought, I'm not sure that the shorts watching people are the same as the long form watching people. And so I asked a version of that question. It says, nope, 90% of your shorts audience doesn't watch the long forms. And then I said, what are the demographics for each? And it instantly spat them out. And I can now tell you that both they're demographically identical audiences in terms of being skewed 95% male, but the shorts audience is 10 years younger than the long form audience. And then I thought, this is great. I'll do more later. And then when I went back, and Sasquatch was gone.
So of course, what I immediately did when you said that was launch the new ChatGPT Atlas browser, type in youtube.com. Because my ChatGPT account is authorized for my Google account, I didn't have to log in. It's like, oh, I have that login. Here's your YouTube studio. And I said, how many people have clicked unsubscribe in the history of this channel? And it failed. It could not do it.
Yeah, I have noticed that Gemini is well positioned to be kind of more native into the YouTube DNA.
Yeah.
Like it could watch YouTube videos and give notes on it and stuff. We'll talk about that in after talk. But I haven't even played with the Atlas browser. I didn't even.
It just launched today. It just launched this morning. Yeah.
All right. Well, in all my infinite free time, I'll make sure to dive right in on that.
It said YouTube Studio does not provide a metric for unsubscribe clicks, neither historically nor in any time frame. You can see subscriber count over time, estimated number of subscribers. So while you can see how many people unsubscribe in a given time window, YouTube does not show total lifetime unsubscribes.
Lies. That's lies on multiple levels.
Lies, I tell you.
In the present tense and lies in the past tense.
I know, that's great.
But that's all right.
That's okay.
Thank you to everybody who came back, who've been hanging on all day, specifically Error 404 and Dylan Theus.
So wait, what's the backstory on that? I'm missing something there.
Oh, I've started doing office hours every day.
Oh, what an interesting concept that you stole from me, Brian.
Oh, have you been doing it?
Yeah, no.
I stole it from the university.
I was going to say, I stole it from universities also. But.
Yeah, I think a lot of us had that idea because I was so disappointed. G. James B said, oh, everyone's doing it. And I was like, oh, don't tell Brian that everybody's doing it.
G. James B was in my office hours today. So that's why he said that.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
That's great, though. No, I love
it. Rose is asking if office hours will be every day. That's certainly my goal. We'll see whether or not I'm able to. Basically, the only reason it's possible is because I'm faster now and I can run 2 to 3 miles in less time. And
Okay.
it's
So you
opened
have
up.
more time to do other things. That's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah. You should just post office hours on your door, and then people know when it is.
Well, the way I described it is, in fact, that's why this exists. Is this little reset timer? Is I set that up and then I start talking, and then I peek in on how much time we got left on there. But in this case, I just was at 35 minutes, and then I said, "I'll be right back," and then now I am.
And look at that. He was not lying.
I was not lying, just not exactly the experience we expected.
All right. Well, the experience that I expect is to do cord killers. What do you say?
Yeah, there we go. Error 404, I think, is exactly right. Yeah, let's go ahead and start the show.
The war is over. Welcome to Cord Killer's Reckoning. We killed all the cords, and now we're trying to figure out what we do next. We're the dog that caught the car. I'm Tom Merritt. Where's the good stuff, Brian?
Hey, man, the good stuff is where you want to find it. We're, of course, live right now on the Monorail and at Night Attack on Twitch. But here's the important part. Yes, technically, war is over, ... said the vault dwellers upon emerging from Vault 101. Not going to say that it was easy to find what you want when you want, whenever you want, on whatever device you want.
Yeah,
but
when there's a wasteland
over.
out there, it becomes a little harder to find the resources, even though the war is over. That's a very good
exactly.
point. Well, that's why we are here, to help you find those resources. So let's start with a supply run.
Supply run, supply run, supply run.
Unholy alliances are a favorite of mine, and starting early next year in the United States, Netflix will make 16 Spotify video podcasts available on Netflix. You heard me right. These are video podcasts on Spotify. They will still be on Spotify, but they will also be on Netflix. Where they won't be is YouTube. Most of these are from The Ringer. The New York Times says the deal will prevent shows from being shown in their entirety on YouTube. They'll still probably put up clips, but if you want to watch the whole thing, you're going to have to watch it on Netflix or Spotify. Sports shows included in the deal are the Bill Simmons podcast, the Zach Lowe show, the McShay show, Fairway Rollin', the Mismatch, and the Ringer's F1 show. Fantasy football, NFL show, and NBA show. And then there's culture and lifestyle shows, the Rewatchables, the Big Picture, the Dave Chang Show, and Recipe Club, and Dissect. And then 2 true crime shows, Conspiracy Theories and Serial Killers. Now, Dan Campos already wrote in on this and said, when Spotify and Netflix announced the integration of podcasts on Netflix, it sounded familiar to me, but not with Netflix. Since March, VIX, the streaming platform from Televisa Univision, has been integrating popular video podcasts like Se Regalan Dudas, Enigmas Sin Resolver, or Human of Interest in their platform as well, adding more in the following months. I know that negotiations for Spotify and Netflix should have started way before, but it looks like this is a path forward to expand video content outside the regular feeds. Podcasts are coming to stream. Well, they're already streaming, but they're coming to the What is going on here, Brian?
Well, it depends on what lens we want to look at this through. On the one hand, we could look at it through the charitable lens of more choice equals better, right? However, man, what an odd moment we're at right now. We're having, the way I think of it, and tell me if this rings true for you, Tom, is I think of it as a blue sky problem. It's quite simply too much unguided choice. It's all gray goo. Everything is available everywhere all at once. And it on the one hand, you do want to meet the customer where they are. On the other hand, and so for established property, are these all new properties or existing properties?
These are existing properties, and in some cases, big hits like the Bill Simmons podcast.
So on the one hand, in general, you want your content to be bursting at the seams of its own domain. So let's say, for example, you have a bit of content. We talked about this in office hours. Let's say you have a bit of content that you put out into the void of YouTube and it only gets 50 views. That would be heart-wrenching if you put a lot of time, energy, and effort into it. However, that same 50 views will seem very different if it's showcased at a film festival and, more importantly, What if there are only 20 seats in the room and yet 50 viewers are in their room? Suddenly it's an unmitigated, unqualified success. That is the question of whether or not these properties are getting too diffuse. The overall numbers certainly will go up for the properties. The overall options will certainly go up on the platform. Is that great for that nebulous idea of a brand? And that is what we're bumping up against. Personally, Tom, I don't know if you've heard about this. I think we talked about it in After Things or After Talk. Our friend Mike TV is working on what I believe is going to be the next new hotness, which is artificial scarcity. He's making an app that is the inverse of Spotify, where it's invite only, limited to, let's say, 150 people. And crucially, every band gets one album. That's it. And if you want to put a new album up, you have to take the old album away. If you want to rotate out one track, that's up to you. That is a simple idea that I can cotton. Whereas I don't have any lampposts? What do you call them?
Guideposts.
Guideposts. I don't have any guideposts in this uncharted territory of what I think of as the blue sky problem. What about you?
So you're coming at it from the creator standpoint, right?
And the consumer standpoint.
Well, on the consumer side, I don't care. I think as a consumer, I'm like, yeah, if I'm on Netflix and the Bill Simmons podcast shows up, I might watch it. I might watch rewatchables. If I am a fan of these shows and I prefer to watch them on YouTube, then I am going to be upset. I don't know how much that is a problem for them, but I have an option. I can go to Netflix. I can go to Spotify. So I'm not sure that it affects anybody else outside of that platform, which is why on the platform side, from the business side, I look at through that lens and I'm like, oh, this is Netflix and Spotify teaming up and saying the enemy of my enemy is my friend. We know that YouTube is becoming dominant in video podcasts, not in podcasts per se, but Spotify and Netflix aren't involved in podcasts. They're involved in shows. Spotify is playing a little better with RSS feeds, but it really doesn't care about them that much. Mostly it would like to just capture you and keep you on Spotify. Netflix doesn't care about RSS feeds at all. It cares entirely just about shows. And so I think they're saying we want to steal shows from YouTube. We want these shows to be on our platform because in Netflix's case, it'll keep somebody watching. And the more we keep them watching, the less likely they cancel their subscription. So if I just finish a movie and Netflix suggests, hey, Rewatchables has an episode about that movie you just watched or that TV show you just watched, I might keep someone around. Bill Simmons' podcast comes up for someone we know watches football, even though they watch the football somewhere else. Maybe they come in and they watch the NFL show on Netflix. Spotify, on the other hand, gets money out of this. They say we get to monetize the productions we're making and act like a production house, like when NBC sells a show to CBS, and we also get to hurt the competition, which is YouTube, which is more directly in competition with us than Netflix.
I love this framework. The idea of it's divide and conquer, because you have YouTube that is owning it and crushing it, and it being, let's say, the audio plus video space. It's definitely for short form video, it owns it. And it's moved, I think, effectively into a second place position for audio behind Spotify. Whereas Netflix, when you think of high fidelity home theater, full attention watching, is still number one. So what YouTube has is the living room, the lights on living room experience. If you want whatever your favorite podcast is, goes 2 or 3 hours, they're an invited guest in your living room and they hang out there for a bit. So now that in an audio experience has already been owned by Spotify, and now they're bringing a little of that to the Netflix. So in other words, you get the video thing gets a little bit more audio-ish, the audio thing gets a little bit more video-ish, and they squeeze. So in other words, you have Netflix taking the high fidelity experience and Spotify taking the low fidelity experience and squeezing YouTube from both sides.
It also, and James points out, there are RSS feeds on YouTube. So if I'm confusing anyone, when I say YouTube doesn't play well with RSS, I mean Cord Killers has an RSS feed. And that RSS feed cannot be used on YouTube. You can't go to YouTube and put in our RSS feed. You have to use YouTube's RSS feed. Whereas Spotify, you can actually use the Cord Killers RSS feed there. So that's what I mean by that. Different usages of RSS feeds. However, I do think that the other thing that is going on here is Netflix really has decided, and I don't think they always felt this way, that they want to be the everything platform. They want to be all of television. So they've started to get into live. They've started to get into reality and competition shows. And now they're like, what about daytime? What do you usually see in the off hours? What do you see on the weekend mornings? It's stuff that is like this. It's stuff like these video podcasts. It's talk shows, right? This is an easy way for them to get into talk shows without having to spend a lot of money to get some marquee celebrity to come and, redo the Kelly Clarkson show for Netflix.
It is fascinating. I hadn't really thought about it in terms of a battle from the platform's standpoint. I guess I begrudgingly admit it's a smart move, although I think it's bad for the consumer and bad for the creator. But
I think it's bad for the creator, although these particular creators it's probably less bad for.
Yeah, no, they're firmly established.
Because they're firmly established. They're going to get their paycheck. They're just going to get more money from Netflix. Probably not going to hurt their brand.
Right. But it does contribute to it's difficult to begin gray goo problem.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it matters for most consumers unless they are the YouTube consumer of these shows. I think it negatively impacts those. But otherwise, you actually have no more or less choice than you had before. It just shifts platform to a different place. I guess you could watch things freely on YouTube with ads, and you can't watch it freely with ads on Netflix. You got to pay to watch it with ads on Netflix. So it's slightly reduced in your choice there.
It is technically a net positive, and when you're technically right, you are my least favorite flavor of right.
Yes, that is the banana of right.
Oh, jeez, you just ruined it. The only way to go worse is to put raisins in it.
All right, let us introduce you to something that is entirely free that you'll want to pay for. Us.
Heck yeah, dude. Hey, man, here's a crazy idea. What if we kickstarted okay, I have an idea. It's a Kickstarter. And the best part is we can raise the money not now. So I need to raise, I don't know, over $100,000. And I'm going to build a time machine with it. But then I'll go back in time 15 years ago, and I'll have the two of us will I'll whisper in our ears to start this podcast and to keep it loud, live, and independent for just $1 an episode. So people will have already paid for it in the past, and anybody who's arriving just now in the timeline can kick in and join in for just $1 an episode by going to patreon.com/cordkillers. That'll keep us loud, live, and independent. It's brilliant. It's a payment scheme that just involves one itty-bitty little sci-fi conceit.
Yeah.
And the only way to keep it going is for everyone to go to patreon.com/cordkillers and get a whole bunch of bonuses like what, Tom?
You can get After Talk, where Brian and I divulge the real secrets of Cord Killers. We talk about what's going to be on the full experience next. We talk about what we're really up to. If you really want to know what's going on, you have to get After Talk. It is the real behind the scenes of Cord Killers.
Think this show's behind the scenes. No. We go full feral.
No, this is us being careful. You want to get After Talk, which is patreon.com/cordkillers. On to the search party. Matt and Ross Duffy, the Duffer Brothers, told Variety that the 5th and final season of Stranger Things will wrap up all the loose ends. That's going to be it. And when I say the Duffer Brothers, I of course mean the Duffer Brothers. They didn't mention Barb, but Matt said, "We do every last remaining thing we wanted to do with the Demogorgons and Mind Flayer and Vecna and the Upside Down and Hawkins and these characters. This is a complete story. It's done." Those were his words. They also said the coming spin-off of Stranger Things will not continue the story of Stranger Things. It will not even live in the expanded universe of Stranger Things. It's not the next town down from Hawkins. Instead, it will be a continuation of the Stranger Things style of storytelling. Kids, adventures, sci-fi fantasy, rather than increasingly expand what could become an insanely convoluted mythology. Ross said they're going to live in a bit of a different world. There's going to be connective tissue, but you're almost anthologizing in a way, because we're not Star Wars. We can't be like, oh, now we're on this planet.
Although they kind of are, they describe something that sounds an awful lot like Star Wars, where there essentially is a brand flavor, even if they're disconnected geographically, chronologically, theme-wise, or whatever. Because I almost wonder, Tom, if as a society, we're not having to develop a new type of cultural palette because there are flavors of content that simply didn't exist 20 years ago, 40 years ago, and they couldn't exist because of the media structures that were out there. But now, like, brand doesn't quite do it, or world doesn't quite do it, because there's especially maybe it's because we're all starting to notice the stuff that you can't put words to in as we watch remix culture, whether it be with Sora or AI Gen, you could kind of sniff out what the source material was. I don't know. I'm bumping up against a new place where I feel like a new word needs to exist.
Yeah, I think what they're reacting to is the criticisms we've talked about on this show a million times of like, I don't need another Skywalker in my Star Wars. Tell me a new story. The Duffer Brothers are promising, we're going to tell you a new story. This won't just be, and it won't just be, and now we're on a different desert planet with different characters. They're saying it'll be kids, it'll be adventures, it'll be sci-fi, but otherwise, you're not going to hear about Hawkins. You're not going to hear about 11. You're not going to hear about Demogorgons. At least that's what I get out of this. It's going to be our style of story, but all new. So they're not tied down to having to be like, well, the lab would have done that already, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Netflix's K-pop Demon Hunters Sing-Along is returning to cinemas October 31st through November 2nd. It's a Halloween weekend extravaganza, and this time AMC Theaters isn't too scared to make money off of it. The first time the movie racked up record eyeballs, played to a number one $19 million box office return. That was August 22nd through the 25th, and that was without AMC. Now, it's the second run. Even though it's Halloween, they probably won't get as many people as before, but they will have AMC theaters open, so they might get more because they've got more theaters. And it also says, hey, AMC and Netflix are finally making nice with each other. Maybe we'll see more stuff from Netflix, probably stunt stuff. I'm not imagining like windowed stuff, but we might see them cooperate on more stuff. Also, Dan Campos wrote in about this and noted that they are doing this in Mexico as well, in the Cinépolis and Cinemex theaters. The film will be shown in both versions, dubbed to Spanish, as well as the original English-Korean version, and presale has started there as well. So this continues the unexpected run of K-pop Demon Hunters in culture. I think Halloween's got to be the peak, though, right? It's kept its momentum because all the kids are like, I'm going to dress up as Huntrix for Halloween. And after that, I imagine it starts to fade a little.
Well, I'm already interested. I'm less worried about the longevity of this particular property in time and more interested in the structure of this type of presentation surviving beyond K-pop Demon Hunters, right? Where it's like, where does it go next? What's the next sing-along kind of experience to go, and what other things besides sing-alongs can we get away with? As we've talked about before, there's all this infrastructure, all these places where you have a giant screen, you have excellent AV, you've got seats, and now most of them, you have facilities for food and beverages and liquor licenses, et cetera, et cetera. What else can you do? I don't know if you saw it, but there was a short-form clip running around, Tom, of some theater with an enhanced presentation of The Matrix, where everybody's seated looking at a screen, and they're at the part where phone rings, then he says, we need guns, lots of them. And at that moment, the white expands out of the screen all the way into a bubble around everyone in the audience. And as the guns come blasting through, that they go all the way through the periphery of everyone's vision on the sides. I don't know how much of that could be retrofitted. I don't know if that's a harbinger of things to come, or if that's totally unrelated to the point of sing-alongs. But I love movies getting nutty. I loved it when the Alamo Drafthouse did it because they were too small to have to play fair. I loved it when they reshaped the whole experience, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track. I mean, what you described is more of a technology innovation, but that's part of this, right? You suddenly have Netflix who said, I'm sure at some point we could do that, but we'd need more theaters. And now they've got AMC playing nice. They have more theaters. You've probably got AMC saying, we'd love to do that stunt, but Netflix owns that property. Well, now they're talking to Netflix, which owns a boatload of properties. So yeah, I'm curious what these two come up with for stunts. Also, every once in a while, Netflix does a window as a favor to, like Glass Onion or something like that. And suddenly it can play in more theaters for that opening weekend and get a little more push because AMC can run the trailers before it's good for both of them. So I'm glad they finally realized that. South Park started season 28 immediately after the end of season 27. Season 27 was 5 episodes long. Season 28 will reportedly be 5 episodes long. Usually a South Park season is 10 episodes long. Brian, does this further erode the meaning of season?
Yeah, it does. And in theory, technically, Tom, changing the name of things shouldn't matter. But like, for example, Aqua Teen Hunger Force thought it'd be fun to constantly change their name. But structurally, that totally broke everybody's TiVo subscriptions. And then subsequently, numbers went down and suddenly Aqua Teen Hunger Force didn't exist. So technically, this feels like a similar space to me.
Yeah, this feels, although it's a little less consumer unfriendly, right? Like I can't find my season pass hurt viewing. This doesn't really change much if you're a South Park viewer because you might not even know you're suddenly in season 28. You're just watching the next South Park that showed up. I'm guessing it has something to do with somebody's contract somewhere. Like, yeah, you're contractually obligated to provide
I think it has to do with the
certain
streaming
number of
rights versus the Comedy Central.
Yeah, it's something in there about the number of seasons and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
A couple other notes here. Shrinking season 3 will premiere Wednesday, January 28th on Apple TV. The first 1 hour episode will show on January 28th. That's the one with Harrison Ford. Back for a 3rd season. Look at that.
I bet he's just sunshiny and full of pep.
I'm sure he will be. Netflix is going to partner with the game publisher Asmodee to create new TV shows and films based on the Catan board games. We don't know whether it's a competition or an anime or a live action fiction narrative. All of those are apparently under consideration. But Netflix did previously partner with Asmodee on the Exploding Kittens animation.
This is, I think, a rich world because Catan has a mechanic that is very familiar and similar to, say, Monopoly, but instead of a cutthroat, it's an astonishingly pro-social. It's like if you want to teach people about Adam Smith's The Invisible Hand, just have them play Settlers of Catan. It's brilliant because you never tune out. You're never waiting for your turn again. You're always playing because there's always an opportunity to bargain with someone.
Yeah. And
you're always feeling like you're winning and progressing. It's just that someone gets there first.
It's gotta be a competition show. I feel like I feel like that's where they'll end up.
Yeah. I could also see a storytelling show. Think about it. You got factions and people with limited resources
What if
who
it's
need to
both?
negotiate.
What if people are? What if it's both? What if people are playing Catan and their game is then turned into a story?
Or think about this. Think of a bizarro mechanic. For example, the beginning of Marvel's Secret Wars. Basically, a bunch of planets get chopped up and they get cobbled together, kind of like you deal out the cards when you form the island at Catan. There's a lot of different options.
Well, Netflix and Chernin Entertainment have set the new drama series Kennedy, which will explore the triumphs and tragedies of No, actually, it's the Kennedy family, just like you thought. Michael Fassbender has been cast as Joe Kennedy Sr., and Michael Fassbender is partially Irish. The series will begin in the 1930s with Joe Kennedy's career, and then he has the kids, and then it's basically the crown for the United States.
makes me think of the fantastic Raise the Dead podcast series.
Oh my goodness, yes.
By Justin Robert Young. It begins with a story of a Kennedy, and you think it's one Kennedy, and it turns out it's another Kennedy. It's great.
Yeah. Go listen to Raise the Dead before this comes out.
Yep.
You've got time, and it'll be well worth your effort. Finally, Adam Driver said he was part of a pitch to Lucasfilm to make a sequel to Rise of Skywalker centered on Kylo Ren, which would have been called The Hunt for Ben Solo. Steven Soderbergh wrote the script for it, which Driver told the Associated Press was, quote, one of the coolest expletive scripts I had ever been a part of. Lucasfilm apparently loved it. Then Driver said, we took it to Bob Iger and Alan Bergman, and they said no. They didn't see how Ben Solo was alive, and that was that. Soderbergh told the AP, I really enjoyed making the movie in my head. I'm just sorry the fans won't get to see it.
Oh, man, if only in the future he could take what was in his head and easily prompt his way into releasing it.
I don't know that it's about that. It's about the authorization, right? These are
I know.
characters that Iger owns, and Iger didn't object to the cost of making it or the time it would take. Iger said, we don't believe that you can do this, that this was a story that people want to see. So that's kind of the end of that, right? Whether you can generate it or not.
What was the cut that what's his name Topher Grace did of the
prequels?
That was a case of elite Hollywood people doing elite Hollywood things and the haves being able to play with all of their wonderful toys. I suspect that we're entering a world where more of the regular Joes get to remix. I mean,
I don't think Soderbergh does that. I don't, but maybe somebody could get a hold of that script and put it in a prompt. Not impossible. All right, let's move on to the buried treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
Hey, Brian, remember earlier when you were talking about time travel? Did you return to 2015?
That was really weird, Tom. I just spoke and my voice sounded wrong to my own face, and it's because I had this muted. I sure did, Tom. I went back to 2015 to watch the premiere episode, the pilot of Mr. Robot, available right now on Netflix.
And what prompted you to do that?
Josie and I are continuing to make our way through Death Note, and we're nearing the end, so we're kind of slow rolling it, just one episode at a time and digesting and talking about it. But in this case, it just said for you, and it said Mr. Robot. And I was like, man, I wonder how well that holds up, both knowing the end of the series.
So it was like, hey, we see you're watching this. Maybe you want to watch this again. You know, even if you watched it again, maybe it didn't.
Yeah, well, and similar to what YouTube does, you know, if you look at the suggested for you could divide it into threes. It's new things you've already seen, and things like the stuff that it knows you're currently watching. But in this case, I also wanted to know whether or not it would land for Josie. So I didn't say to Josie, hey, this is a lot of fun. And spoiler alert for a 10-year-old show, maybe this will be what gets you to watch it. They're just doing Fight Club. It's great. And then there's even one scene where they're so doing Fight Club that they want you to know that they know that they're doing Fight Club, that they play a sad piano version of Where Is My Mind? It's great. And also, if you are tech savvy, they bother to use correct Linux terms and
and technology from friends of ours.
Correct. They bothered to do that, but it was a nice touch that was not necessary. It's still bombastic and over the top, but I wanted to see how it would land with Josie, and we got halfway through the pilot because it's an hour and a half long, and she's digging it, which says something. She was what, 7 when that came out.
Wow. Josie's a tastemaker now. Like I trust that if she likes something, there has to be something valuable about it.
There comes a time when you trust your children's taste more than one's own.
Well, I don't have any children to make watch this, so maybe it's bad. But I watched the first 2 episodes
not even
of
4 and 8-year-olds.
Yeah, all the 4 and 8-year-olds are up in another city. The Chair Company, Tim Robinson's new series on HBO Max, which I am finding fantastic. If you like the Tim Robinson in I Think You Should Leave and are okay with there being sort of a serious intriguing story to string you along. I compared this to Ted Lasso. It's not Ted Lasso as in funny and heartwarming. It's Ted Lasso in that I could see the premise for the chair company having been a skit idea for I Think You Should Leave that they have now turned into a series. And so far, we're only 2 episodes in. There's only 2 episodes been released. It's working.
I had forgotten entirely that this was coming. Now, you have not seen the A34 Friendship, right?
I have seen part of it at your compound. I've seen the very end of it. Yes.
Okay, that's right. I forgot about that. That was great. So I was going to ask if it compares to that experience where there are moments that it feels like I Think You Should Leave, like a Tim Robinson sketch, but it is very much not that.
I don't know if I'd say very much yet. But it feels like there are moments where you're like, this is definitely an I Think You Should Leave sketch. And the opening scene is the family at dinner, and it's very, very much an I Think You Should Leave sketch. But as soon as you start to think like, I don't know if I need more I Think You Should Leave sketches in a series like this, it becomes a serious story, and you start to believe that it's a serious story. And then you think, I think they've resolved this, and they throw you a left turn. And they do a great job of pacing those out. You get hilarious stuff, legitimately interesting story, twist, hilarious stuff, interesting story, and not even always in that order, but mixed up to right when you think you're tired of this, he gives you something else. And so far, it's extremely well done. The premise is that this person who is at a company that designs malls is on stage to present the new mall in Ohio at this big company event. And when he goes to sit down, his chair breaks and he falls down and he is embarrassed in front of the entire company, including the CEO and all the people in the audience. And he decides to hunt down the people who made the chair.
Now, to what end? Is that made clear?
To find out why it broke.
That's it? And so it becomes how it's made episode?
Yes, but there's a twist, and it would be spoilery to take that away from you.
Okay. All right.
So trust me that it won't stay just like, I need to find why this chair broke. That's where it starts.
Right.
And just when you think like, okay, they've kind of exhausted the storyline is when they start to do the like, oh, wait a minute, why is that happening? So it's really good. There's also a bunch of other storylines in there around his family and people at work and some hilarious stuff. So anyway, that's The Chair Company.
So
HBO Max.
How full-throated is the Tom recommendation on this one?
I would wait to clear my entire throat until it's all the way done with the season, because we're 2 episodes in. But right now, I've got a good ball of phlegm about to be cleared out. It's pretty good.
We're at ball of phlegm, people.
Yeah.
Prepare thyself.
It also launched to become the most watched comedy series debut on HBO since Avenue 5. Which didn't hold its audience, but it was a hugely popular launch. And it's among the top 3 comedy series premieres in HBO Max history, right next to And Just Like That and Our Flag Means Death.
That's fantastic, man. I'm very excited for anything Tim Robinson related.
Well, if you got something we should be on the lookout for, please email us cordkillers@gmail.com. Brian, what special message do you have for us this week?
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, behold a ballyhoo, our latest puzzle box.
That's a real one in your hand and everything.
Yes, it turns out, Tom, after a year of promoting, as I like to call them, promises, we now have a thing I like to call product. As a matter of fact, Sunday, I got a phone call from Ryer that he and his whole family were packing up 200 ballyhoo puzzle boxes. Now, here's the thing. It's up to you, depending on how you squint. Either this is a puzzle box that's packed with value in the form of a whole bunch of magic tricks, or it's a magic kit in the most incredible puzzle box that you've ever seen. Now, the puzzle itself is very, very simple. It should take about 5 to 10 minutes to open it, but you can lock it afterwards. And inside, when you open it, you can find, I'm keeping it off camera here, you get a premium deck of cards from Theory 11. You get 4 identical eagle quarters, which is important because they match the giant jumbo quarter. And most importantly, you get access to the Roustabout Society, a super secret online forum. A lot of people don't know that, man, you and I met each other because of a little show called Scam School that at one point was the #1 way to learn magic on the entire planet. Guess what? All those tricks, all the best parts, hundreds of tricks that can make you the most interesting person in the room, they're all in that USB stick. And more importantly, that gets you access to the Roustabout Society, available right now at scamstuff.com. This is my 25-year anniversary gift to the planet. I'm taking all the best of. It's going to be great.
So good. So good. And if I want to buy it, where do I go?
Scamstuff.com. It's gear for the modern rogue. You should see it. Here, let me double check. Yeah, here we go. Right here.
Scamstuff.com. Now, in this apocalyptic world in which we live, we scan the horizon.
Send a scanning to abort.
Scanning the horizon!
Do you remember, Brian, when I kept saying 2 things have to happen for the consolidation wars to begin in streaming? One is resolving the ownership of Hulu, and the other is AT&T restrictions on selling Warner Brothers Discovery must expire. Do you remember me continuing to say that?
You know what? It doesn't matter if I remember it. What matters is I believe you right now.
We obviously got the expiration of Comcast's issues with Disney's ownership of Hulu. Disney has undisputed ownership of Hulu. The clock ticked on AT&T, but the first consolidation that we got was Skydance buying Paramount. So now we're in the world of everyone finally turning their eyes to Warner Brothers Discovery. Warner Brothers Discovery announced that it is reviewing strategic alternatives. That means we're up for sale. That is acquisition speak for someone please come buy us. They are doing this in light of unsolicited interest. That means David Zaslav does not want to sell this to someone, but the shareholders definitely want him to talk to everyone who's interested in buying them. They said they have received all interest from multiple parties to buy some or all of the business. We already talked previously about Paramount's David Ellison making an offer that was turned down for being too low. Meanwhile, Warner has said before that it is working on separating the cable channels into a Discovery Global business and the studio and streaming into the Warner Brothers business. They still are on track to do that by next April, so they're not stopping that. They could sell off those 2 chunks. They could sell off one of those chunks and spin off the other one, or they could sell the whole thing, which is what David Ellison wants. But this is going to get interesting. Someone is going to buy all or part of Warner, probably by next April.
Didn't we have a story just last week about somebody responding like, not no, but not at that number?
That was what I was mentioning about them turning down David Ellison's offer, as saying, maybe come back with a higher offer. Again, I think CEO David Zaslav would rather just split up the company and remain CEO of a Warner Brothers. I think the shareholders are like, I don't know, that number was pretty good. If you can just get it up a little bit, we might be willing to do that. And then Zaslav is going to be in trouble because he won't have a place in the future there.
That's a funny moment when I remember, oh, that's right, shareholders decide. Nobody, these companies don't belong to anybody other than the people who pay for them.
Yeah. In other Warner Brothers news, CNN will launch CNN All Access, a subscription service that is $7 a month or $70 a year. That's happening a week from our recording, October 28th. The subscription will give you access to select live U.S. and international programming, some exclusive live events, a library of shows, and the articles on CNN's website and mobile app. This is somewhat, but not exactly the same as what ESPN does. A full schedule will be announced at launch, though it does not appear that you are going to get the CNN stream that you see on cable. ESPN is just giving you everything. Whatever's on ESPN, you get in the subscription service. CNN is saying, we got some stuff on HBO Max that we'll keep in the library. We've got the live CNN that you see on cable. And then we've got other stuff in this streaming service, and you get access to the website. Maybe this time CNN can launch a paid streaming service before it gets bought by somebody else who shuts it down. Because if you remember, CNN Plus launched in March 2022, right before the Warner Discovery merger happened.
You know what? Tom, and I've used this phrase before, from a branding perspective, I should hate taking multiple swings like this on the same name, but part of me is sympathetic to kind of a Groundhog Day-like existence where it's like, maybe they'll get it right this time. Maybe eventually they'll realize that this is how they serve their customers.
My inclination and instinct is that ESPN is doing it right. I, as a consumer, want ESPN. I don't want to have to think, did I get the right ESPN? I just want ESPN. Maybe I get it through my cable service. Maybe I pay for it in the app. But whatever I get it all. And they have done that where you can now use your cable subscription to authenticate on the app. So you really are getting it if you pay for it anywhere. I think this approach is not the best. That doesn't mean it'll fail, but it is less consumer friendly because now I have to think, well, but I'm not getting the CNN that I'm used to on cable. Do I want to switch to the subscription version or is getting it on HBO? Maybe I'll just watch Fox News instead or something else, right?
Have I told you my theory about the difference between a DJ dropping the beat and a standing ovation emerging? Have we talked about this?
No.
Okay, so when the beat drops, you know that pregnant feeling. You got a whole crowd of people, and you're like, and somebody press a button and it's like ecstasy, right? All at once. Whereas a standing ovation is everybody knows, like the art is now over. We're at the end and everybody has their own subjective rating. 5% of the audience is going to stand up no matter what. 5% no matter what is going to be the last ones to stand no matter what. Everybody else, they know how much they loved it, but they don't know how on display they want to be for loving it. And so as a result, everybody's watching each other as consensus emerges. And then maybe, eventually everybody's on the same page. The launching of this brand creates a small window where the actual producers can watch how fast people subscribe to the idea of CNN All Access, and then they can watch how people enjoy it and very quickly iterate and possibly in that small window reach consensus for possibly something good. So weirdly, it might make tactical sense to begin and launch this brand not knowing what it's going to be. Yeah.
And also not knowing what your owner is going to be in the next year, right?
There is that to boot. But that's one of the nice things about in the news space, you're accustomed to kind of not knowing.
Yeah. And finally, I swear, this is the last Warner Brother Discovery item I have. For the third year in a row, HBO Max raised its price. Basic with ads plan goes up $1 to $10.99. Standard with no ads goes up $1.50 to $18.49. And premium, which is how you get 4K streaming and a few other perks, goes up $2 to $22.99. Those prices are now the price you pay if you're a new subscriber. Everybody else will get the price rise the next time their plan renews after November 20th.
Thank goodness, Tom. We did it. Finally, the last price hike. It's all done.
Yes, manifest that, please. Make that happen for us all. Starting in 2026, Apple Formula One coverage in the U.S. will move from ESPN to Apple. I shouldn't have said Apple first. Formula One coverage in the U.S. will move from ESPN to Apple. So select practice sessions and races will be available for free. All practice qualifying sprint sessions and Grand Prix will be available to Apple TV subscribers at no additional cost. This is different than MLS. So if you pay for Apple TV Plus to get the Silo, you now get F1 stuff. And it will replace F1's existing $17 a month subscription service. Apple TV only costs you $13 a month if you buy it on its own. And you can bundle it in and save some money as well. In a related note, starting October 20th, you'll be able to bundle, speaking of bundles, Apple TV and Peacock together for $15 a month. That'll save you about $6 if you bought them individually. A bundle with ad-free Peacock will cost you $20 a month.
What do you think is the impetus? Is Peacock just like at the point of the dance where it's like anybody, just literally anybody, please dance?
I think maybe both of them are. I think, and I don't think it's just Peacock and Apple. I think everybody but Disney and Netflix are like, hey, well, let's huddle together for warmth in this post-apocalyptic world where all the cords have been killed, because people don't like to have multiple bills. And so if we can bundle together and then they save money, then the price rises don't bother, and then we get more. I think we're going to see a lot of bundles like this continue to happen.
Yeah, I'd like to believe that the two of them are huddled together, cursing our names. Cursing
Probably.
Tom Merritt.
Yeah, I imagine they are. In a move to combat an annoying glitch of modern existence, the MLB app has added a setting that will let you delay notifications about what happens in a game by 30 seconds. This is meant to prevent your phone or your watch from telling you about a major play before you see it happen on your television.
Now, that's... You know what? I'm here for that. I think that works.
This is a great move because there are so many
I don't
times
love that it's probably an opt-in thing. That probably is not great.
Why?
Well, because that's an extra step of friction, right? Where it's like the default should be like, I almost wonder if to be honest, this is a case where the trade-off could be privacy. Like if the mic were able to tell that you're watching the game, then it could just sync it up automatically.
I mean, sure. But I think when you're talking about opt-in or opt-out, you want to opt in on the unusual behavior that maybe not everybody wants. And the idea with notifications is I want to know what happens as soon as it happens, right?
Right.
If you are turning on notifications, it's because you imagine yourself out at dinner and you want to know if the Mets won. And you don't want that to be delayed. So having this be opt-in is I actually end up getting these notifications when I'm watching at home more often because I watch TV a lot at home. I am the use case that needs this delayed.
So what it could be is it could be you swipe, picture a switch for enabled notifications and a checkbox that says delay 30 seconds.
Yeah. And you have to opt into any notification on the MLB app to begin with. So for most people, they can set this up right at the beginning and it's all part of the opt-in of everything. NBA games in the U.S. this season will be shown across ESPN, ABC, NBC, Peacock, and Amazon Prime Video. So that's all you need to do to watch all the NBA games. If, however, you're using the NBA app, NBA.com, or even a team app, you will see official posts that tell you where to watch by tapping. You don't have to figure it out. This will actually happen on Google, Meta, X, Snap, Reddit, Roku, and the Dapper Labs blockchain as well. Tap to watch means it'll just take you to the resource that has the game without you having to have to think about where are the Lakers playing this time. It'll just take you to that resource. Now, you may or may not be subscribed, but it'll take you there. And if you are subscribed, then it'll launch the game.
Tom, 10 out of 10 solution. This is excellent design in action. This is the kind of thing that happens from tight control over your property, a content creator who sees the larger vision, who respects the existing contracts with the existing distributors, but keeps in mind, at the end of the day, I want the thing to do the thing.
And finally, if you're wondering why people watch broadcast TV, it's because of sports. Broadcast TV watching rose 20% between August and September because college football and the NFL came back. Streaming as a category is still 45.2% of U.S. viewing, and a chunk of that is sports now too, right? Amazon's got the NFL. There's sports on Apple and other stuff. But broadcast and cable each took 22.3%, and broadcast is really bringing in the biggest games.
15 seconds of Galaxy, Brian. Tom, how far off do you think we are from the societal backlash, the hangover of gambling? Because a lot of this live sports watching thing, everybody wants a reason to cause people to watch TV. Sports is a good one, but it is enhanced with gambling. But there's a reason that gambling comes and goes in waves, is because we all love it because we're exercising our free will until a bunch of us lose, at which point it was a trick the whole time and we have to ban it.
I will tell you for sure what the window is after the Super Bowl. I believe it is 1 to 3 years for the backlash to really reach its peak.
Oh, you've thought about this. I tapped into something.
I think during the Super Bowl, we're going to see a ton of gambling ads. And the amount of eye raising and backlash to those will give me an idea of how close we are to people saying this is not okay anymore. Because That is already bubbling up. I'm already hearing grumbling. I'm already seeing ads that just lay right into like, hey, you're at the bar and it's boring. Bring out your FanDuel app and bet on that game. Now everybody in the bar is cheering for you. And that's the kind of thing that starts to make people go like, wait a minute, do I actually like this? Maybe this is a problem. So just like we measured the reaction to AI last year and cryptocurrency the year before with Super Bowl ads.
This has strong Bitcoin vibes.
Yeah. I feel like that may be the category of Super Bowl ad that everybody reacts to. All right, let's move on to the chatter.
You've got mail.
George reminded us after we talked about the death of TiVo that TiVo was not the only player. George says, I never had a TiVo. My favorite was Replay TV. I had several and could watch everything on the collective pool.
Do you know what's funny is I remember having a tribal identity and hating Replay TV, even though
Really?
I ain't never touched one. For some reason, all I knew is it was the threat to my blessed beloved TiVo.
That was the Dish, like DirecTV had the TiVo partnership and Dish had the Replay TV. Bill near Athens, Georgia said, the one that I'm surprised that we don't see more often is a daily release of episodes. He's responding to our discussion about batch episode releases, weekly versus all at once. He said, the only example that I'm aware of for daily is Disney Plus released episodes for seasons 2 and 3 of What If daily during the week between Christmas and New Year's. I think this release schedule really helped, especially season 2 of What If. It also gave me a little something to look forward to each day most of us had off from work or school. But even at other times of the year, I think a daily release schedule would help with word of mouth. Do a nice job of splitting the baby between people who want to watch on a release schedule and people who want to binge a show and help the internet ecosystem that is developed around some shows. Screen Crush mentioned how difficult it was for them to make weekly videos for Andor since the second season was released in 3-episode arcs.
You know, I wish again for that magical word that kind of tickles the same spot as flavor in my mind. There's a particular flavor of programming that What If satisfies, and also a flavor of that time of year between Christmas and New Year's where, yeah, daily makes sense. And it's like What If is kind of episodic or what's the starts with an A? Like the Twilight Zone. Why can I not?
Anthology.
Anthologies. Anthological is the word I was trying to invent.
Anthropological.
It's kind of anthological, but also it has an ongoing story. It's somewhere in between Prestige and Low Rent. And I don't know how many programs satisfy it. The other comp that pops into my mind is roughly Our Flag Means Death. But what they did was they did groups of 3, which I thought worked pretty well.
Yeah, so similar to Andor. We also have a final email from Daniel. We were talking about going from Bonanza to Yellowstone. Daniel said, what about ER to House to Grey's Anatomy? That would be one hell of a comparison. Third Watch kind of fits, but not because it covers all EMS services in New York. However, those 3 did have concurrent runs toward the end of ER. Most didn't last but a season or 2. A thought while listening to the old Aftertalk episodes. Yes, I'm way behind, but I refuse to skip them. Well, there you go. Another reason to get the Aftertalk out of your Patreon. Good stuff like that.
Although if we did ER to anything, I would want to go directly to the pit, but we don't do the full experience on currently ongoing programs. You know about the lawsuit with the pit, right? Did you know about this?
No, what's the lawsuit with the pit?
The lawsuit with the pit is the guy who's in the pit had on the record said, hey, you should do a successor to ER. It should be a sequel.
I think I did hear
character
something
that I
about
played
this.
on ER,
Right.
you should have him as an old guy. And then it didn't happen. Then it was like, okay, here's definitely not that guy. And then meanwhile, the Crichton's widow, who is very protective of the Michael Crichton estate, is currently suing because they've got the emails that say you kind of started work on this and you're kind of just doing it. But then again, why not? I mean, the guy can't play a version of that character with a different name? I don't know.
Yeah. And it's up to a judge to decide where the line is between no, you stole the idea and no, you just did a similar idea, and that's not illegal to do similar ideas.
I mean, I certainly, as the proprietor of Scam Nation, I certainly hope doing the same thing under a different name is not a problem.
Well, look for my new show, Fraud Country, coming soon to a podcast near you. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we are live on twitch.tv/Night Attack and youtube.com/Modern Rogue Tuesdays, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you next time.
Join us live.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Here comes Speed Brian. He's getting coffee on wheels.
Yeah, I should have gotten up and left.
He's getting coffee and he's gonna be drinking it with someone.
I just finished the pit yesterday.
Oh yeah, the most recent season.
There's only one season so far, but
I guess you're right. Yeah,
really,
it's still technically the most recent season, and technically right is my least favorite kind.
The season 2 comes out January 6th, I think.
Okay.
And the fact that I have the date for the second season in my head tells you what I thought of the first season. Because it was initially I only watched 4 episodes because it's pretty intense, and I didn't want to just burn right through it all. Because it does have that continuous story aspect of it. There's always a story resolving, always a story with complications, and always a story being introduced just constantly through the whole 15
So there's always
spread.
a hook to the next episode.
Yeah, if you just watch the episodes themselves and just cut out the intros and the credits, it would really just appear as
flow.
one movie. Yeah.
Wow. So it's got, and we've said this before, but it really does have a 24 kind of feel to it, even though it's not the same premise exactly.
Yeah, and they don't their show is in 1 hour blocks, but they don't stick so hard to the conceit that everything's real time. Mm-hmm. There's some areas where they
just like 24 in its later season.
exactly. But yeah, it was really good, and I'm looking forward to the next season. And also, Grey's Anatomy is still currently on, so we wouldn't be able to do that trifecta anyway.
I think they took a hiatus too, so we don't know when the next season is coming, but they haven't canceled it.
Right.
And I think it's in its 120th season at this point.
Yeah.
It's the descendants of the original cast that are doing Grey's Anatomy now.
Literally, because Meredith Grey's daughter is one of the main characters now.
Is one of the main characters,
and Meredith Grey is taking a backseat role because the lady that plays her is actually now executive producing the show.
All you need is one Grey for it to be Grey's Anatomy.
Sure, but now there's like 5 because everybody's incestuously
just in
related
case.
to everyone
Just
else on
in
the show.
case. Let's have 5. The redundancy, AWS, learn from them.
So here's radio tease before we go into the full experience. Anybody sticking around for after talk, Amos, remind me to tell Tom about my Stephen Colbert inspired answer to what to do with the Scam School channel.
I don't see color, Brian.
I don't know what that means.
That's a Colbert bit from the Colbert Report.
Oh, got it.
I don't see color. I'm told you're Indian, and I believe you.
Done. It's in there. Let me update my bottom tag real quick.
Update your bottom. Are you ready to do the fastest car on Earth, Brian?
I am. And I got takes.
I do too. This is the best episode of Speed Racer according to IMDb's ratings.
Oh dear. I feel like you have takes.
I wrote my takes down in the doc so you can actually see.
So you better look alive.
And this is 120. Right? Yep.
The odds are against us, and there's dangerous work to do.
All right, let's do this thing.
3, 2. Welcome to The Full Experience. This show is an experiment to find out if you can watch just 4 episodes of any TV series and get the flavor of what that show is about, become culturally literate, maybe even act as if you've seen the entire run of the show. We are in the midst of watching Speed Racer, so we always watch the first, the ultimate, the lowest, and the last episode. This is the ultimate episode, the highest rated episode according to the people on IMDb, Season 1, Episode 20, The Fastest Car on Earth, Part 1, which first aired in 1967. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Hey, man, I assume since Speed Racer was all one season that it was all produced all at the same time, which is funny because, like, this being 20 episodes in, I want to make a comment that it feels like it grew into its own, although it almost certainly didn't grow. They probably were all created, give or take, at the exact same time.
I think you could still see growth because they made them one after the other, right? And so you start to learn by doing, and 20 episodes in, you've learned a few things about what works and what doesn't in the creation of an episode. Maybe you haven't learned it from audience feedback, but you still learn it, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, in this case, there are actually multiple protagonists and there's nested storylines. And I got to admit, I really liked it. I liked the fact that they began by withholding information and making it a puzzle. They kept to the character diamonds of our 2 primary stuff. We have Speed, who insists he's still not yet seeing that he could possibly be flawed. And his dad he's blaming the car still 20 episodes later. And his dad is saying, man, I don't think it's the car anymore. And then we have the seductive dream of what if Speed got his wish, but it's quite literally a haunted wish because the B plot, when we open on a Scooby-Doo looking background and they convey the idea that it's a spooky kind of too good to be true monkey paw, haunted, everything you could wish for engine. And then we see him lost in this toxic, intoxicating experience with the car. And it lands on a cliffhanger, and I'm hoping, actually, almost certainly not, because there's a reason this was the highest rated and not the next one. But I would hope that this would be an opportunity for growth for Speed Racer, but also they withheld the mystery of who's driving. Was it Racer X that turns out to be driving this? I'll never know.
We don't know. Yeah. We haven't met Racer X yet in our view. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's somebody else.
No, I thought this was way, way better in terms of substantive character development. And as a matter of fact, even the single note joke characters. What is it? Chim Chim and the other one?
Yeah, Spritle.
Wait, what?
Chim Chim and Spritle. Chim Chim's the monkey. Spritle's the kid. Okay. Yeah. Yes, on paper, you are 100% right. I was bored to tears. I kept rolling my eyes through this entire episode. I mean, yes, I guess a graveyard is technically a lonely section of town, which is in a lonely section of town. I'm like, yeah, it's a graveyard. Also, surprise crane shows up. And really, the ghost is a haunted engine? Come on. I like, well, because think about it. It's power itself. I mean, that's what it represents is we have a flawed protagonist who wants power for power's sake. And he is convinced that there's nothing wrong with him, that it's just he hasn't gotten enough power. And this is the toxic moment that his wish is granted. And he accidentally, I don't know, pays a terrible price, I assume. Yes. That on paper makes perfect sense, and I can't dispute it. No, this episode did not land. I was quite bored. Maybe it's me. I'm perfectly willing to admit that. But I was just like, maybe the car didn't go as fast because Pops was in it, and he's kind of heavy. Like, that ought to be worth a half a second right there. Well, you guys also got your wish in that we got on-screen Pops kicking ass action. We did. We got a little Pops fight scene. That was good. Quite an elaborate way to get a test monkey to hang sausages in a forest when you didn't know Chim Chim would be there, just in the hopes that maybe a monkey will come by and then you can lure him into the trunk of your car. And I think there might have been an easier way to get a test monkey. That's all I'm saying. So they left out the scene where Chim Chim walks by and then we see binoculars in the bushes or like in the radio saying, we got. They couldn't have just gone and bought a monkey. You could just buy monkeys,
No, they
You
don't,
don't have to
wanna-
capture Chim Chim.
Well,
I was
no,
like,
but
they're
they
doing this
needed
on
a
purpose.
Driving monkey, which is
All right. Yeah, okay. I thought the idea was like they needed a monkey they could give the stuff to and then it could drive, but maybe I mistook that. Also, I found it funny that they called it the Spook Cemetery because it's spooky.
Yeah.
Then it's like one of the coldest lines I've ever heard in any kids show. When we planted Ben Carmen, not buried, not laid him to rest. They just said full. And when we planted Ben Carmen, I didn't know the Mach 5 could fit 3 in the front either. That was interesting. And
Now this is doubly interesting because you recently took a tour of the Mach 5.
I did. Oh, yes, I did. Well, a version of me did. You're right. Yeah. On Sora. Also, when they did the close up of the engine, it's like 3 black lines and then like something that maybe is a piston. I don't know. It was fine. It wasn't better than the previous episode for me. I'm curious what Amos thought.
Well, Brian, what you said is accurate. If I were reading this story,
Right.
if I were
Best
reading
kind
this
of.
story, this would make a compelling story. However, this story was not in a written form; it was in a visual medium. Where I've never taken notes on a full experience before. I took notes on this episode.
So let us have it. Go ahead, unload.
How much time are they going to waste with just a single cell on the screen for, I don't know, 20 frames at a time?
As many as they can.
All of them. They use the
20
fewest
episodes
cells,
in. We got to save money.
They use the fewest cells possible in this episode. Like it was kind of ridiculous how much money they must have saved by only having the minimum animation required. Just repeating certain animations. Like I know that's what Speed
I
Racer
was about to
does,
say,
but this one
It seemed
punched
even
me.
for Speed Racer, you were seeing it more. I
Yeah.
didn't really notice that, but
And I love the casual kidnapping. Was that a meth spray? Like, did they what was okay? And
Meth
then
spray.
Pop Racer-
Oh no, that was the you mean the drug that made him into a good driver? Yeah.
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 And then he crashed afterwards. It sounds like meth to me.
Yeah.
he was really focused until he crashed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
he-
later
it
ended up
was-
working at the Yellowstone Ranch.
Pop Racers Fight Club. Actually, really loved. They actually got into it a little bit. That was fun. Grand Theft Auto. That was cool. Just stealing cars. All right. And then I'm gonna read this just as I typed it because I was typing as I was watching the show, so I didn't have my full attention. Clutch, make, go fast. Because when he showed Speed Racer out of control, his foot was on the clutch.
Was on the clutch, not the gas. Yeah.
Or the
He
emergency
was trying to
brake.
slow down, Amos.
Yeah. So, yeah. Again, this would make a great short story. It did not make a good 30-minute cartoon.
It was a fine Speed Racer. I want to say that. Like, I'm not trashing Speed Racer. I just don't understand why this was the ultimate. But I think Brian explained it. Is like because it has the most structured story. It has all the pieces.
And there's no fat in it. I mean, first of all, it's all slow and it's all underwhelming for you guys. But
Sure.
I mean, there's not a completely stapled on storyline, and it also does those core fundamentals. It gives a puzzle to crack immediately. It withholds information. It gives us a chance to project and imagine what is the great and terrible price that Speed is going to have to pay.
None of my criticisms are of plot. So
Yeah.
I think that's what you're pointing out is like, this is a very solid story. If what you're into, if your doorway is story, then this episode of Speed Racer is going to be enjoyable for you. Cause I'm talking about like things popping out of nowhere or like a logical inconsistency in a scene, but that doesn't affect the plot. That doesn't affect the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, loved the story, hated the animation, the cartoon, the pacing. I would rather have read this one.
Maybe we should try that.
That can be
sometime.
arranged.
Like this would have been a great episode for a visual, like a comic, like frame by frame in each cells reading
What
the
about
comic,
a lot
reading
of
it at my own pace.
frames? So much so that they create the illusion of motion.
But they didn't though.
But
They had a lot of frames that were
so
just the
apparently
same
we just
frame.
needed a few more.
We just
I
needed
wonder
more
how
frames. Yeah.
I wonder how this actually might be a job for Sora to
For
have
Sora,
it interpolate.
Could you
frames.
interpolate more frames in here? See if this improves it for Amos.
All of a sudden, Amos loves it.
Yeah.
It would have helped. It definitely would have helped. Yeah.
Well, that is it for part ones. We had the Great Plan part 1 as our premiere episode. We had This Was the Fastest Car on Earth part 1. We are going to watch the lowest rated episode next time, which is the 34th episode, The Race for Life. And there's no part 1 or part 2 on this one. So apparently this is our only self-contained episode. And then the finale, because it's the finale, is a part 2. So it'll be we'll finally get the second half.
I might sneak in watching the second half of this one just to see, because like the mere fact that I'm curious, whether or not they pay off.
Testament to the story. You want to find
evolving.
out. Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. That is season 1, episode 20, The Fastest Car on Earth, part 1. Like I said, next time we will watch season 1, episode 34, The Race for Life, the lowest rated episode of Speed Racer on IMDb. That is it for us. You get these episodes earlier, and you get to weigh on which series we watch if you're a patron. So if you're not already, become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/cordkillers. We'll see you next time. Was there a Speed Racer manga
I'm sure there are many.
I'm
right?
sure there. Yeah.
titled Mach Go Go Go, which is the Japanese?
The original name. Yeah.
Definitely was.
All right. And with that, live audience, we bid you adieu.
We love you.
You guys,
we miss
patrons, listen to After Talk.
Do it. No excuses.
Bye.